this is where I want to be. I don't know how to get there, but I know that I need people in my corner that can make it happen. And so I completely view it as an investment, both in myself and my life.
Mackenzie, I am really, really excited for our conversation today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So first, tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is McKinzie Sheridan, and I was born and raised in the same small town in Kentucky as you in Shelbyville. And I will always proudly call the Bluegrass State home. But shortly after college, I got married, moved to Chicago for a while, and then ultimately to North Carolina, which is where I live now. I have always been the type of person who kind of planned out my life and had things figured out in advance. And then through a lot of hard work and dedication, found a way to kind of make those plans happen. And I had a life that I had dreamed of. I had a phenomenal job as a pediatric speech language pathologist. I had a stable family, great husband, all the things. And then 2020 and 2021 happened, as we all know. And ironically enough, the pandemic had very minimal to do with it, but my life as I knew it drastically changed. And a couple different sources of security that I had always had were no longer there. And suddenly the world was kind of just my oyster. And while that is equally exciting and terrifying, I knew that I wanted to do something fun with that. And it kind of led me to ultimately launching my new gifting business, McKinzie Rae Services. So that's just a little of my story.
And I love the way you phrased all of that, in the sense that you were like, the world is now my oyster. And you totally approach life like that. So I so appreciate that. And so tell us a little bit more about your professional career and journey. So what led you to being a speech pathologist? And then really what ultimately led you to say, I want to do gifting and I want to open up my own business, and where you are today?
Yeah. So my whole life, I knew I wanted to work with kids and adolescents. I've always had a really special place in my heart for those two populations. My undergrad degree was in psychology. And so I knew I wanted something along those lines. And one day I stumbled upon speech pathology, learned a lot about it, and thought that sounded like a really fun job. So ultimately went to grad school for that. And that's what I did. I started out just kind of, I was willing to get a job wherever. And my first job was in the pediatric population. And that's just what kind of stuck. So I have worked in a few different settings there, all with kids, but across different boards, demographics, that sort of thing. And throughout my professional career, I have worn a lot of different hats. So I've always been just a natural born leader and just kind of taken the initiative to do a lot of different things, whether it's launching a different program, launching an event, organizing things. I've been a department head for special ed in the school system, just a big variety, I could say. And at the same time, I was always the go-to person for anything creative or style related, or adding a pop of fun to events or things like that. And in my role as a speech therapist, I deal with a lot of hard every day. I work with kids who have come from a lot of trauma, abuse, just a lot of heavy. And I always dreamed of having some sort of creative career balance where I could incorporate close personal relationships that were super important to me in a way that would still be as impactful, but a little bit lighter than my daily workload. And so, because I deal with so much heavy, one of my big missions is just to spread and cultivate joy every day in everything. I've gotten really, really close with so many families over the years, and I have really been able to witness firsthand the impact that when a person feels seen, known, and loved, that can have in transforming their life. And so in combining kind of all of the passions that I have, along with just my personality, I decided to launch my gifting business, specializing in custom gifting for individuals and businesses. So, kind of pulling in those personal relationships, getting to know people, but like I said, a little bit more lighthearted than what I do in my full-time role.
And what you do is just so perfectly aligned with who you are. Like that, I think is the most fun thing about watching your journey, because I'm like, this is Mackenzie. Like, it's not her just saying, oh, I really want to do this. I really want to create this. Like, no, it just is who you are. And so it just seems like a natural fit from the outsiders looking in. And I'm sure for you, it feels pretty natural to do too.
It does. Yes, very much so.
So, as you mentioned, we grew up in the same hometown. We were friends from probably before we even have memories at that age.
Yeah, I was trying to remember one day and I have no idea.
I know it, like, very truly, when I think about my very first memories, that I can like go far back, like you are in them. So I think it was like before we really should even have those memories in our life. So like 2, 3, like, yes, very young. And so we were able to reconnect whenever I saw you launched your business, and I invited you to check out the VIP Accelerator. So I would love for you to share with the audience why you decided to join. What about it aligned with your goals in your business?
Yeah. So, like you said, you reached out to me at a super pivotal point, and I don't take that for granted because I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and kind of when it's supposed to be. So, yeah, I had just launched my business. And I literally mean launched in the sense of like I had done all the legal stuff. It was a creation. It was a thing, but I truly had no idea, or I should say very minimal idea, what direction I wanted to go with it and what I wanted to do. My goal had just been to get it launched before the holidays in 2021. And I did that, but then knowing that I would kind of give myself a month, 6 weeks to get my feet wet, figure out what I wanted to do. And you reached out to me, and I was skeptical at first, not of you or of the program, but just because I had listened to more like master classes and things that I could even keep track of at that point, just kind of desperately searching out information and really just hoping that some like osmosis miracle would happen and something would just like sink in and set off this light bulb and be like, this is it. Like, this is what you want to do. Run with this, whatever, and have all the magical answers, knowing full well that would not be the case. But when you reached out, I thought, okay, like I know her and I knew your background, and you obviously have the pedigree to support what you do, which is super, super important to me. And I had contemplated for a while joining a couple of the bigger name programs, if you want to call them that, but I had never pulled the trigger. For one, they were very expensive and I had zero wiggle room financially at the time. And so I knew if I was going to take the leap on one of these things, I wanted to be 100% certain that I was going to be all in, that I was at least going to give it a chance and dedicate the time and energy that I needed to hopefully get out of it in return what I was expecting. And so once I connected with you, we talked on the phone that day. And after that conversation, I had such a better sense of peace of just like, you know what? We haven't talked in like 30 years. And just from this 30-minute phone conversation, like she hears what I'm at least like striving to do. She had suggestions and answers that were very logical and attainable. So I came home, like prayed about it for a couple hours, and then thought, I'm going to do this. Like, this is going to be where I make the investment and devote this time and money to, with the hope and prayer that it was going to give me what I needed in return. And then here we are.
And when you think back, because of course, when we're recording this, we're still in the middle of the program, but from what we've done in the program so far, what has been your favorite part?
I think a couple different things. One, just the networking and connections. It's been so nice. And this is one of the reasons I didn't want to join one of the big group programs is I didn't want to be in a group of 100 to 1,000 plus people. Yes, you can still get things out of that, I'm sure. But like I mentioned earlier, I thrive on like close relationships and being able to actually ask a question and hear other people's stories and take something from that. So being in our group of 7 or 8 with you is so crucial to me. And because we have time to each like share things or ask things or bounce things off of each other and whatnot. And it's also been so cool because I think almost all of us have collaborated like in pairs or trios somehow along the way too, which has been so fun to see. Even if it's not like whatever our designated business is, we've just been able to work together in those even smaller groups. And so just having that network is huge. But then I would also say the guest speakers have been really cool because even if they're talking about an area that I maybe don't think I need right then or isn't like super relevant to what I'm doing, it's still so nice to just hear that information and kind of backlog it for future reference and just have a person in your pocket too that you can say, oh, even if it's a year down the road and something pops up, like I heard so-and-so talk about this, like, let me go back and get in touch with them or re-listen to our session from that day. And just have those resources, I think is so beneficial. So I would say both of those areas have been my favorites.
Yeah, I love that. And I think just being able to pull in other voices. So it's not just me talking to you all day or every week.
Yes.
Get to hear some other voices. But now I know you said when you took the plunge and you got into the program, you really were looking for direction. But I'm curious, when you think back now, what areas of your business did you find the most clarity through our work together?
I think direction as one, and just kind of narrowing down more of a specific business. I don't want to say direction again, but kind of, and just having that niche, even though I have a lot of different passions and ideas, I knew that I needed something to start with. And just that ground zero point of let's do this and then see kind of where the different arms and legs go off of down the road. But so having that source of direction, but then also just like the business logistics, because that was something other than literally creating the business, I knew very little about. And like I said, I was in information overload at one point of taking in so much of, okay, well, you need to have an email list. You need to do this on social media. You need to do this. You need to do this. But until you, for one, take action with those things, you're not going to go anywhere. But it's taking action is so much easier said than done because it's paralyzing. And without somebody guiding you or at least breaking it down into baby steps of, let's start with this, like, let's start with your social media presence, or let's start with how you build an email list. It's really daunting. And so I think being able to work through those steps and logistics have been really affirming and just eye-opening along the way, especially for a brand new business owner like myself.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And thinking back to the shoes that I was in when I was at your stage as well, I can only imagine all the things that are being thrown at you that you think, okay, well, which one is more important? Like what is the most crucial thing for me to be doing right now? I think you're absolutely right, because we really were able to kind of say, all right, we're starting from the basics. Like, yes, make sure you have this, and this is how you do it if you don't have it. Yeah, I really can appreciate that was a pivotal point for you to really feel like, all right, I've got these foundational pieces now and I can grow from here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much. And even when I was deciding kind of what business I was going to launch, because I had toyed back and forth with a list of 7 or 8 different passions of mine, I picked the quote unquote easiest to start, not necessarily the easiest to do, but the one that was simplest as far as like cost involved up front and just things like that, knowing that there would be so many areas that I had no idea kind of where to go and who to talk to and things like that. So I'm really fortunate to have had these steps and things mapped out along the way.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, we, of course, have our monthly books. And so I'm curious to know from you, out of all the books we read, which one was your favorite and why?
I would probably say two of them for very different reasons. I mean, I had them sitting next to me. So I would definitely say Obsessed would probably be my top favorite for a couple reasons. It was our first one. And so it was just, the first in something is always special. It was a very easy read, which is nice. But also because it's so focused on like emotions and feelings and story. And that's very me. And that's like my heart and soul. If I don't feel emotion with something, I'm not going to care about it. And so I appreciate that Emily talked so much about that and just having that in your business or whatever you're doing. So I really appreciated that. And then my second, I don't know if I would call this a favorite, but one that I really appreciated was Influence. And I'll hold it in all of its heavy glory too.
Yeah.
So while it was definitely the most heavy in all senses to get through, like I mentioned earlier, my undergrad degree is in psychology, and I use psychology in my everyday life all day. And so I love and appreciate that aspect of things and learning about that. And I could read psych-related things endlessly. So I just like reading some of the things in there were crazy to think about. And I mean, the cover says the psychology of persuasion, but truly thinking about like the depths and things that we are so oblivious to in our world in ways that we are persuaded and influenced. I don't know. It was just really cool to read. So I really enjoyed both of those. And I like all of the other ones too. It's really fun to have a book each month and to kind of go through it together.
I didn't even think about that psychology connection for you because, but I totally can see where that was like right up your alley. But at the same time, you're like, but this is wild. It like the things that we do just out of like obligation in our mind. But yet, whenever you're reading this book, you go through and you're like, but there's no reason why I do that. Like I just do it. And it was, I think, it was a hard read because it was a thick book and it was very, very scientific based and theory based. But at the same time, I think it was also hard because we're reading these things going like, what? This blows my mind.
I know. And then you become even more aware of when you're doing some of this.
Yes.
And then you think, wait, do people like know why I'm doing this? Like, are they thinking about this stuff? And the answer is probably a resounding no, because clearly we're not. But I don't know. It gets in your brain and it makes you think all these weird things.
Yeah, it was a little bit of like a mind spiral at certain points. Like, just like, what? Oh my gosh, I can't keep reading because I'm thinking about it. And Now, Mackenzie, when you think about overall the benefits that you gain from being in the VIP Accelerator, what would you say are your top things that come to mind?
Yeah, I would say several things that I think of. One, like I said earlier, just having a direction in my own business. I don't think I would have that if it wasn't for this program. And just working through, as I mentioned, for one, like the concrete business logistics, that's been huge, but also just the moral support and accountability every week have been instrumental. I'm a really like self-motivated person as it is. So I value that, but having something every week to look forward to and that's consistent for 6 months has been so helpful. And then also, like I mentioned, just having this built-in network. It's super sad that our 6 months are almost over, but I have no doubt that all of us will probably remain in contact. Like, I feel like we're going to want to have like reunions every month or something, or just like catch up conversations. So you might want to schedule that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think, and then also just having you as a go-to during our sessions and in between has been so helpful. And I know that all of us have valued that so much, and we're all at very different stages and things with our businesses. And so just each of us being able to reach out to you and say like, hey, what do you think about this, as a quick little conversation, or having those more in-depth ones of like when I emailed you and said, I'm just going to brain dump and word vomit because I need to, and I don't know what to do with all this information in my head. And just having that person and that support is huge. And I definitely don't think I would be where I am in my business and career without all of those pieces.
Well, thank you for saying that. And we can definitely get some reunions on the calendar.
Yes.
So that we can look forward to those. I like that.
Yeah.
If someone is listening and they're considering about joining the next round of the VIP Accelerator and they're maybe on the fence, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to really think about kind of what they are wanting their life to look like or their business to look like, and really do a deep dive there. I am a super reflective person, so this is something that comes really naturally to me, but it's also something that I think is really important, because if you do something without really weighing it out, you're not going to be as committed, I don't think. And you're going to kind of just take it half-heartedly. Whereas like for me, I really weighed out, this is where I want to be. I don't know how to get there, but I know that I need people in my corner that can make it happen. And so I completely view it as an investment, both in myself and my life. And so I would tell anybody that's hesitant, take that investment in yourself. You know, we invest into all kinds of other things without thinking twice, whether it's your special coffee drink or whatever people choose, but to make that investment in your career and yourself and your personal growth and gaining a network of amazing women that you can have as support and cheerleaders. And like for me, doing this was incredibly lonely and isolating at first, launching my business. I mean, and so having other people who are in that same boat, and even though like none of them other than you knew me prior, is so just life affirming. And so it's so crucial to put those things in place to help yourself reach your own goals. And like I said, just take the investment and go all in on yourself. I think is so worth it.
Before we started recording, Mckenzie and I were talking about how there's that saying, future you will thank today you for starting something, or, you know, starting that routine, starting that behavior that you want to become a habit. And, you know, I think it's so hard to think back that was just 6 months that we started this. And it feels like we've been working together for a lot longer than 6 months in my mind. But at the same time, I think back like, wait, it's been 6 months. And, you know, just getting in that daily practice of, I genuinely wanted to get better about reading business books. And so I said, I'm going to add the business books into the component of the VIP Accelerator. And like just implementing that has just really started to build those routines, even in my life of, all right, I'm going to sit down and eat lunch, and I'm also going to read 20 pages of this business book while I'm sitting here. And, you know, normally I'd be scrolling on my phone. And so I just feel like so much better about kind of, like you said, being intentional, setting those goals and saying, this is going to be the trajectory that I'm going to take in my life and my business. And then you see those changes at the end of it. I think that's so gratifying, but also so reaffirming to the decisions and the investments that you make, because you say, all right, this was the right decision for me and my business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, even just something little, like I want to read more of these books, building those things in is, I don't know, it's just so important for yourself. And And life's too short to not go all in on yourself and for yourself. And if you have those dreams, take them. I'm a big believer in, like, God wouldn't put a dream on your heart if he didn't give you everything you needed to achieve it or to make it happen. And I don't think that we have dreams for no reason. Even if you feel like it's a tiny little mustard seed of a dream, it's there. And reach for it and make it happen and figure out, even if you feel 100% clueless, as I did 6, 7, 8 months ago, there's ways to make it happen, and you just have to fight for it and believe and do it for yourself.
That's so true. That's so true. I'm so glad you said that. Now, of course, we are recording this for the YouTube channel, and then we are also recording for the Selfish podcast. And this would not be a Selfish podcast interview without being able to ask you the question I ask in every interview: how do you like to be selfish? And I like to always explain and say, this is in the positive way of practicing self-care. So Mckenzie, how do you like to be selfish?
I would say, I don't know if this is a strength or a weakness of mine, that I am very focused on being selfish in the self-care realm. This is something that has always been of utmost importance to me because I know the difference that it can make. So I have several things that are non-negotiables for me, I could say. One is quiet, like journaling time every single day. If it's up to me, I start my day with it. But in the off chance that I can't, then I end my day with it. But it always is a bookend on one end of my day. And I really make it very gratitude based, just to have that mindset. And that was something I had to really train myself to do, but I've been doing it now for over a decade. And so it is just so ingrained in me, and just being able to flip everything into a thank you for X, Y, and Z thought is so important to me. Another thing I would say is going on a daily walk, weather permitting, is very important to me and very selfish. But just A, moving your body, and B, having that time to just think. I like to listen to podcasts normally, or music, but just being able to step away from whatever your day looks like and have those moments. And then my other one would just be, so I am a very colorful person. I love fashion and clothes and style and all of those things. So just maintaining those things for me is very important. Honestly, picking out what I'm going to wear in the mornings is one of my favorite times of day, and just giving myself those fun aspects of my personality and things like that. I'm always the odd one, usually in all of my friend groups. Most of my friends are very neutral lovers and just the polar opposite of me. So I stand out like a peacock pretty much everywhere I am and go, but that's totally fine. I will own it. But yeah, I would say those ways are probably my most selfish.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and you are proud to stand out like a peacock, because that is just so you, though. I mean, you own it. And so
I do.
That's what I love that about you. Mckenzie, what's next for you?
That's a great question. I am so excited to kind of just see where my business goes and grows. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, I have a lot of dreams and ideas that I would love to kind of tie in as time goes on. But I'm excited to still be in the early stages of things. And really, I'm trying to be very intentional about savoring every single step along the way, and not rushing anything, and truly just learning as I go. And I've been so grateful for the clients that I have gotten to work with so far and just kind of establish connections with. And I'm excited for what the upcoming holiday season can look like as far as gifting goes, and just kind of establishing my name as a business with both individuals and other business owners, and just being able to help them and leave more of a lasting impact and spread joy. And so I just want to be very intentional about growing things and taking it all in and watching what will come. So.
And if somebody is listening, wants to work with you, and particularly I would shout out that they should, as business owners, be thinking already about holiday gifts for their clients and partners, and contacting Mckenzie to help them source those items, ship those items. Like, she can truly take this off your plate. It is truly one of the best services that a business owner can outsource, because it is one of those things where we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what is out there and like what's trending. And I just know I need to get it taken care of. So that's what I just love about what Mckenzie offers. So if they are looking to hire you for this role, or just even contact you to talk to you about it, how can they find you?
Sure. Well, and thank you for all of that. I appreciate it. So the easiest way is just to go to my website, which is McKenzieRaeServices.com. And my name is spelled very funky. Thank you to my parents for that. So I will spell it, but Mckenzie is McKinzie. Rae is RHEA, and then services. And on there, you will also find connections to my social media, which are also McKinzie Rae Services, but you are welcome to reach out to me through any of those methods. And I would love to have a conversation with you about how I can help take some of that stress and everything off of your plate with regards to gifting.
And a little birdie told me, and maybe that's because I've seen it myself, but she has a great 100 gift guide on there for Amazon.
Yes.
And so it's 100 Amazon gifts you can purchase, and they're broken down by categories. And so I just want to shout that out, because this gift guide has saved me so many times. I refer to it all the time. And so like I truly, when I said at the beginning that like, this is such a genuine company that Mckenzie started, because it is so authentic to who she is, and that desire to make people happy, bring joy into their lives. And she can do that for all of us. And so thank you for taking the time to talk with us, share a little bit more about your journey. And I hope anybody that's listening that is curious about that will reach out to talk to you about gifting needs in the future.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to talk with anybody who is interested or just has questions or anything. I will be more than happy to give some more info and kind of brainstorm and whatnot.